matter experts who are kind of dumped into a training capacity without any support, or new trainers, particularly trainers who are alone. They're the only trainer in the organization and may feel the need for someone to support them, give them feedback, just be available to answer questions. And then, of course, I'm happy for any trainer to come. And you certainly have come, and I am thrilled to death that you're here.
Good. Thanks for having us.
So if you one more time introduce yourselves, your name, your location, your company.
Mm-hmm. Okay, my name is Linda Jackson. I'm with Christensen Group. We have our home office based out of Eden Prairie, Minnesota. I am out of the office in Bemidji, Minnesota, which is 4 hours north. Yep, so that's everything there.
And I'm Katie Randolph, and I'm Linda's colleague. So I'm in the Eden Prairie office, Eden Prairie, Minnesota, and with Christensen Group as well.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. And how long have you been training?
Formally or unofficially?
She's an accidental trainer too.
Yeah.
Well, you can give us both. How about that?
Yeah. Well, for me, I was, it felt like for a while I was the alone trainer before we developed our CSTs. And so I would say I have been training as an alone trainer for, I want to say, close to 5 years now. Not an alone trainer, but a trainer for 5 years. And then Katie, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I've like she said, accidental trainer, go-to person. How do I do this? Can you help me with this? But not formally. Like I worked closely. Linda became like the formal trainer, and I would work with her. But formally, a year and a half ago, they came up with this role, Linda and I, and to be like the onboarding specialist, I guess, which Linda's a really big part of too. So now it's a much more formal training role. So CST with the others, but kind of take the lead, I guess, on putting together the onboarding plans and making sure that they are being done and the person's moving along and all that. So,
yep.
Okay. Well, great. Let's go on to the next one here. So this is called a quick start. So what's the one thing that would make this session worthwhile for you? You don't need to put it into the chat window. You could speak it.
Okay. I guess for me, yeah. Go ahead, Katie. You go first. No, you go first, Katie.
I was just gonna say, we're pretty new in trying to have this formal program, and I think the biggest challenge we've had so far is no single trainee is the same. So I feel like we're shifting a lot, which is more time consuming when things don't go the way you plan, and then everybody has to shift. It ends up taking a lot of time. So I guess I'm mostly looking for how to be most efficient to be able to help the trainees be successful, quickly, because we want them onboarded quickly.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and the same thing. It's trying to figure out, how on the fly adjusting our training plan when we realize, oh, this is not going, in the timing that we expected. Is there anything that we can shift or remove? And how quickly should we identify that timing? At what point should we start adjusting the training plan when we feel like things aren't going as quickly as possible? Should we wait months or just a couple weeks? Yeah, so timing is good.
Okay. Now that's not something that we're going to that we can talk about at the question area. You know that the topic today is somewhat different, but we'll get to those challenges because I certainly have some ideas.
Okay.
How come I can't move this? Here we go. So, how many of you wonder if you're getting through to your audience?
Oh, that's, I mentioned to you too, it feels like sometimes I'm talking to myself. I'm not getting the feedback, even if it's just the, or I get it, or the yay, or, you would hope something, but I feel like a lot of times it's just the silence. And I don't know how I can improve on that other than always trying to drag it out of people. Yeah, so I wonder a lot if if they're getting anything out of it. But
I
Katie,
bring
don't know if
push balls and just bounce it off their head. That's one way to get their attention. But no, that's not one of the ones we're going to use today.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would agree too with Linda. I feel like unless you directly ask them, do you understand? Unless I have them to regurgitate it and watch them, I really don't know if they understood what I just said.
Yep.
Okay. How many of you would like to be sure you have participant buy-in to learning what you have to teach?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yep, of course.
And what these are common ground questions. And we're going to be looking at them and what their value is momentarily.
Okay.
So a little bit about me. I've designed and delivered skill building training programs for over 35 years on a national and international basis. And I've trained and certified trainers in the US, all across the nation: Kenya, Nigeria, Zambia, Croatia, Jordan, and the United Arab Emirates.
Wow.
I think that I'm even better known in Jordan than I am in the United States.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
So let's talk about participant investment. The more invested the participants are in the training, the greater likelihood they're going to learn, retain, and apply their new knowledge or skills back on the job. And the earlier that we get that buy-in, the easier the training experience will be for both the participants and the trainer. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I have 8 suggestions on how to get participant buy-in. First, using a quick start. Now, if you recall, let me go back to the quick start here. I asked you what would make this session worthwhile for you. Why would that be useful in getting a buy-in?
Because you want their input right off the bat. What they want or need is important.
Exactly.
And that you might get it, and you might get it out of the session that you're doing.
Right. So this is something on virtually, you can have them put in chat. You could put them in breakout rooms for them to discuss it and then report it out, depending on your time. That's rather time consuming. If it is a classroom, do you do classroom training at all?
Yes, we have. Where we have like computers where they can do hands-on.
Okay. So in a classroom, using the quick start, it's something that I put up on the PowerPoint, and then I like to have people grouped in groups of 5, and I have them discuss that among themselves. I don't need to hear what they said, although I will dipstick. I'll walk around and listen. Which doesn't mean they're dips, but I'm listening to. So first, the quick start, to get them focused on some reason why they should be there, that they want to be there. Then asking the common ground questions. How many of you? The purpose of that is to get them to buy in, because they see that they hear something that indicates it's going to be interesting for them. It's going to give them something that will be useful. And you want to ask enough questions so that everybody ultimately would raise their hand, either virtually or physically in a classroom. This also primes them to participate,
Okay.
because just raising your hand in answer to a question isn't threatening, but psychologically it opens up people's a willingness to participate. Now, the pair share, it's misnomer, but the idea here is, if this were a training, a train the trainer, which it is, but it was a longer train the trainer, I would say, how many of you are seasoned trainers? Please identify who you are, and then think about what you wish you had known when you were first starting as a trainer that would have been valuable to you. How many of you are less seasoned, newer trainers? Think about a question you've always wanted to ask a more seasoned trainer. And then I have people, this can be done in virtually in breakout rooms. In a classroom, I would have the seasoned trainers go over to the right, the less seasoned to the left. When I say, okay, now create groups of 5, make sure you have a mix, and ask your questions and give your answers. And so what it does is well, let me ask you this. What do you think that it does?
Well, for me, I feel like that would help me identify, who I can go to, maybe even after the class, develops relationships, start learning from each other.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
More things about this is, one, logistically, people tend to come in like animals on the ark. They come in with people they know, and they sit with people they know. And this is one way of mixing them up, because once the groups have been created and they've had some time to talk, I have them sit with each other. So they have expert resources at their tables. And so it mixes them up. It co-opts the more seasoned trainers who might be thinking, I already know all this. I don't need to be here. What I'm doing is recognizing that they have expertise, and I'm allowing them to show that expertise and be recognized for that expertise. Mm-hmm. So that can get buy-in, because it's creating a community of learners. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes. Yep.
Then selecting learning objectives. I always identify what the learning objectives are. If it's virtual, it's on the screen, of course, and I have people use stickers to identify which 2, or depending on the number of learning objectives that are on the screen, which 1 or 2 learning objectives are most important for them. If it's a classroom training, I have those learning objectives written on flip charts. I give them stickers and say, okay, you can put 2 stickers on each flip chart. Identify which learning objectives are most important to you. So that again is, there's kind of some social pressure to identify things that you want to learn.
Okay.
So that's what I mean by selecting learning objectives. Any questions so far?
No.
Nope.
Nope. Okay. Then we are marketers as trainers. We are selling some goods and we want people to buy. And if they don't buy in at the beginning, it doesn't matter how beautifully designed your training is, you're going to have people running into this this plexiglass and bouncing off it. So we need to get that buy-in. One way is to ask them, how will learning, whatever this is, benefit you?
Mhm.
Now, I have a funny story about that. I was consulting for a social service agency in Milwaukee. And the president decided that he wanted to retire and go bike in France. And
Okay.
he wanted the management to become participatory, so that there wouldn't be just one person at the head, that they would be more input from a number of people. Now, the problem with that is if you have a participatory management situation, there are meetings. There are going to be more meetings.
Mhm.
Well, 95% of the staff were psychologists and psychologists and what's the other one? But anyway, and they're only paid for client contact time. So I was told, your first challenge is going to get them to buy in to going to all these meetings. And I'm thinking, I'm supposed to out-psych the psychs? This is,
Uh-huh.
doesn't bode well.
Yes.
But
Yep.
I put on the screen as they were coming in, how will it benefit you if it goes to a participatory? Oh, my cat is now helping. If it goes to a participatory management style.
Uh-huh.
And believe it or not, that was the easiest training day I have ever had, because they immediately came up with 12 different things that they could do, including change how they were paid for eating time. They created their own little task forces. I didn't have to do anything, and the president thought I walked on water. So it's interesting that people will devil's advocate for themselves if you ask them. And it's important that they be asked. It's not going to work if we tell them, this is how it's going to be useful to you. They've got to see.
Okay.
And of course, that means that we've done a lot of our groundwork, our research. We know that the content they're going to be getting is going to be beneficial to them. Sometimes we can say, go the opposite way. What are the consequences if we don't make this change? What are the consequences if we don't go in this direction? What are the consequences if you don't learn how to do this safely? Whatever it is that is being taught, they can come up with that.
Mm-hmm.
You can ask, what are the challenges? One of the things that I did many years ago, I was responsible for creating the performance evaluation system for the state of Wisconsin. And supervisors were ordered to attend training. And I split, and they were not happy to be there. But what I did is I split them into 3 groups. One group had to brainstorm, why don't supervisors or managers like to give performance evaluations?
Mm-hmm.
Another group, why don't employees like to receive employee evaluations, performance evaluations? And then the third was, what do employees need to be successful on the job? And so they came up with those answers. And I said, okay, I need 10 minutes of your time. If I have not addressed the concerns that managers have or the concerns that employees have, then you can walk. Now, you have to be very confident about what you're going to train them in. But I was training them in a user-friendly performance evaluation system. And this last, ask an intriguing question. I don't know if you ever do training on how to deal with difficult employees, for example.
Mhm.
You would think that with something like that, if you ask the question, what are some of your challenges? You would hear an earful of all of the different difficulties that employees present. But to change it around, if you ask, what do employees need to be successful on the job? Then they can start to see, because one of my premises is that employees need to be set up for success. And I don't know if you're familiar with, oh, goodness, his name just escaped me. There's a quality management guru who says 85% of an employee's ability to perform successfully on the job depends upon the system, and the system is management, policies, procedures. So if an employee is acting out, the first place I want a manager or supervisor to look is at themselves. So that's why I'm asking that question. So some feedback about these. Do any of these sound like you could use them?
Mm-hmm. I do. I mean, I think I like the idea of asking them what they're going to think they're going to get out of the class, or, the consequences of not learning it. Yeah, definitely. And I know, I'm not doing these types of questions right now. So I think just that would already definitely start the conversations going, and letting them know I do want their feedback, and it's important for them to learn it.
Thank you.
I think that, yeah, and I think when I just dive right in and start teaching, and I say, stop me if you have any questions, but I don't make them answer a question, and then they never stop me, so then that's where we leave empty, like, are they understanding? So asking them a question, I think that's super helpful. I also was thinking, Linda, like, mixing up the resources, like the roundtables we did.
Yes.
I feel like we put the same titles together, but I think we should, I don't know if we did or not, but I feel like we need to force people to split up, because everybody comes in their groups, and if you immediately split them up, as one person starts asking questions that maybe isn't as experienced, the one who is experienced might even learn something because they think they know everything, but then somebody else answers and maybe they don't know everything. So that was helpful. I think there's something to be said about asking questions and making them participate. A two-way street is a huge takeaway.
Yeah.
Are you doing a lot of lecture?
I'd say most of our training it's new hires. That's our, so a lot of times it's one-on-one, or sometimes there'll be a group of like 2 or 3 starting at the same time. Then you might have a small group training, but still it's pretty small. We do have like department trainings once in a while, but it's pretty, handful of times a year, Linda?
Right.
So a lot of it's onboarding, but we'd like to do more with a big group to revisit procedures for people that have been there. But it's a time factor. And then a lot of times I feel like we can talk to her blue in the face. We can send an email. We can send it to them 3 ways and they still don't take it in. Like, I've been here 20 years. I know what I'm doing, and it's like, just read the email, implement what we sent you. And it's like, you have to almost handhold them. I don't know. So we do multiple trainings like that.
And most of our training is systems on systems and procedures.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't generally train on insurance coverages. Sometimes the opportunity comes up, but we kind of train us on the go when we got new, green people to insurance, explaining some concepts. But most of it is just clicks. These are the clicks, and this is what you're supposed to do step by step on the procedure. So That's pretty much what we train on.
Okay, so it's on system procedures.
Mhm.
You don't know if they're listening. You're not sure if they want to, if they care,
Yeah.
because they figure they already are doing it.
Yeah, those are for our existing employees when we're trying to do like a refresher on certain things, or if we're bringing on a new product. Like right now, we do have this new product that I'll be training on, and we'll have existing staff come in and sit in, and those are the ones where it's like it's just crickets, you know. It's like, and we want them to adopt and and get buy-in on this new product. We're paying for it, so we want them to use it. So that's where I really we need to get their buy-in.
What is the new, are there any challenges or customer concerns that the new product is supposed to address?
Yes, it's a product it's an AI product that's supposed to help with policy reviews. So, we get the product, the homeowner's policy, or the property policy, and this AI is supposed to review the policy to make sure it's what we ordered. So that's supposed to help them save a lot of time and turnaround time and getting it out to the client. So there's definitely some benefits there. So but I just did a class, today on it, a demo actually yesterday, but just asking them like the benefits of asking them before they even knew the product, basing on what it is, what they think is going to, benefit them. I think that's definitely something I need to add to my,
Yeah.
start before I start talking.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like what do you guys like about check-ins or policy review? What do you dislike? Oh, they take forever. Well, guess
Right,
what?
right.
This product's gonna not help you with that.
Yeah,
Like asking them to think about it before just saying you're gonna do this.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
the benefit of it. Yeah.
So getting at it that way, asking, what are the challenges with the way we currently do it?
Yes. Mhm.
Because once you have them list them out, have
Yeah.
them brainstorm and list them out, have them write them down, then go through them and say, okay, we're going to show you a system that will take care of this, and then this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the same thing about asking and getting people to raise their hands or contribute, is saying, okay, how many of you do check-ins on a weekly basis, or how many of you hate doing them? Just so they can start talking and knowing that this is not just a one-way conversation. I like that.
Wonderful. You got it.
Thanks.
So are there other, let's get back to the issue of timing and whether you should change things.
Right.
Tell me more about that.
Well, we're right now we do have a current employee that is lagging behind in her development, and so we're like at the point of, do we just stop training her on anything new, or just trying to enforce what we've already trained her on and see if she gets a good understanding on it. So it's kind of delayed things a few weeks. So that's what I don't know, is like, should we, we obviously can't keep training her if she doesn't get what we taught her the first couple weeks. So that's what we don't know, is it okay to just keep moving along, or should we keep changing? And and how often do we do the assessment to say, okay, do we wait a couple of weeks, a month before we assess and figure out if this is going to work?
So this is a one-on-one training?
Yeah, most of it is one-on-one. Mm-hmm.
But you have some milestones that this person is not meeting.
That's correct. Yeah.
Have you ever asked them why?
Yeah, I mean, every time I've met with her, tell me about how the training's going. What have you worked on? How do you feel about this? And she just doesn't really open up very much. And I don't know if that's because it almost feels like she's nervous. Tell us that she's not catching on because she's trying to prove herself and not make any mistakes. And that almost just makes it worse, because you don't say anything, we can't pivot and help,
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, and I asked her too, like, okay, so what do you think of this is the job, what do you think? It's really overwhelming, not ready to move on yet. And I don't know. It's just really hard sometimes to know if it's because of how we're training or if it's something that can't be helped because they're not able to learn it, or
That's-
perform.
Yeah, that's a really hard one.
Mhm.
So you've done this training before, you know when those milestones should be hit. And she's really
Mhm.
far behind, is that right?
Right.
Mhm.
And of the people we train, I would say a good 90% hit the milestones when they should. So it's just the few. This is like maybe in the last couple years, our second one that we're like, are they gonna make it? Right, Katie? So
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I think our training is well timed and delivered well. So that's what we don't know, if we should be revamping our whole delivery based on the couple that struggle.
Well, give me an example of what a training session would look like.
I think
Yeah, go ahead.
we'd we'd have a topic or a process we're training on. So let's just do the policy review, for example. So the trainer meets with them and says, this is why this is important. This is what this is. And here's how you do this. And so usually the first training session is all telling them about what it is, the process. And then the next step would be, okay, practice. We're going to practice on one. Okay, now do one on your own. And she seems to get paralyzed, not like we said, you don't get anything back. You don't know if it was retained. And then when you go through it together, it's like nothing was retained. So you walk through one together. Then when you put them on, when she goes on her own, she doesn't know where to start, So it's just like, and multiple of us have done a different process with her. So it's not like it's one person's style, which just makes us wonder if she's going to have the ability to learn all the complexities of the job,
And she may not, but something to keep in mind. Once you identify why it's important and what it is, you need to model it. And people need 3 examples. Because if you just give them one example, they will wait for that exact same circumstance to occur. But if you give 3 examples, and in this case, having some screenshots would be helpful, then she's got something to refer to.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's true. Because we usually just like, here, we show you one, and then like, okay, let's do one together. And we do have screenshots that, like, every process, it's like you click here, you do this, you do that, but the clicks should be the same, but what each process is actually doing could always be different. Or a curveball could be if the carrier made a mistake, you have to catch the mistake, So you're always reviewing and checking things, and that's never going to be consistent, It's always the clicks are all the same, but it's really learning the coverages and what these things do, like what these things mean, is something that you can't really train because you learn it over time, but you should be asking the questions when I don't know if that makes sense. Like, if clicks that you're supposed to do, there's certain steps you have to follow, but understanding the actual content of the thing you're doing takes time to learn.
Mm-hmm. So giving some models, giving some case studies
Mhm.
where the person has to think it through.
Okay.
Would be helpful.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Like, here's the normal one. Now here's one where there was a mistake on our end. Now here's a mistake on the carrier's end. And seeing it that 3 ways, Linda, might help them be like, okay, these are all going to be a little different.
Mhm.
But like, the consistent thing is I still have to click here. I still have to complete the task. I still have to send, these are the stable things that you do every time. this is what can go wrong between start to finish, you know.
Mhm.
That's a good thought.
Mhm.
Sounds good. Sounds
Yeah.
very good.
And then the case studies, you would just give her, a situation and then have her think it through and talk it out.
Right, after you
Or,
model
yeah.
doing one or two.
After you model the behavior and then give examples. Okay. And then give case studies. All right.
Yeah.
What is one of the things that's kind of a pet peeve for us too as trainers is when people don't take notes. And we say it all the time, take notes, or I even say, this is important, make sure you write it down. And if they don't, what do we do with that? I mean,
What is it?
and then I'll say, you have any questions? No. And then, and then they end up saying, well, I didn't understand anything that happened, but they didn't ask questions. It's like, it's very frustrating. I felt like I just wasted my whole hour,
Right, right.
How do
Okay,
you get them not to be afraid to
Yeah.
speak up if they're not following? That's
Mhm.
like my biggest thing is I think they're intimidated and they just sit there like I got to do my job and learn it. And I would rather them stop and say, I have no idea what you're talking about, you know?
Mhm.
do they have a workbook that they're filling in?
No.
No.
I think that's one of the problems.
Okay.
There's a workbook where they've got to fill in the blanks as you're going through it.
Oh.
And that's part of the
Yeah.
training. And
Yeah.
this is then going to be your Bible, or if you don't want to use a religious thing, but this is going to be your crutch. And if you're not able to, and you want to stop and you don't ask, do you have any questions? You ask, what are your questions?
Oh,
Mhm.
okay.
And then if they're not asking questions, then you ask them. Okay, so if I say we have to do X and Y, what is Z going to be? And you have them answer that.
Mhm.
So you're essentially quizzing them. And as a matter of fact, that would be a good thing to have as well. Have the workbook where they're filling in key pieces, completing sentences. You could have your case study in there. I haven't given it to you, but for trainings, I always have a workbook. And what was I going to say about this? Oh, that it would be helpful to have a quiz every if how long are you talking for? How long is your session?
We try
Depends.
to keep
Usually
them
it's
to an hour to 2 hours, hour and a half
Okay, so
per
if
topic. Mhm.
it's an hour, after 15 or 20 minutes, ask a short quiz.
Okay.
And where it's either it's A or B or C answers, and they can indicate with their fingers, or it's an A or B, thumbs up, thumbs down. Just be careful what digit you're waggling at me.
Okay. Okay.
That way you would
You
see immediately, are they getting it or not?
Mhm.
Because
Okay.
then you would know what you need to reteach.
Yeah, Linda, something I could do is say when Matt goes and does the endorsements, afterwards I sit with, like, we have a workbook, what is an endorsement? Oh, it's a policy change, what's, what do you have to pay attention to? The effective date, do you have to bill it, whatever. It's a few short questions and then I circle back to them to see what did they retain, like almost one-on-one, where they can't go look at their notes, where I just ask them, like, to figure out did they retain anything when they just sat with them,
Mhm.
Mhm.
And maybe we don't do that with every person, but once we see someone struggling to learn, like you get that feeling right away, then we take that path, you know. When it's somebody who has experience, we don't do it at that level, you know.
Mhm.
They've done a lot of research that says there's no such thing as learning styles, but I do think that there are learning preferences.
Hmm.
For example, I do not learn orally.
Mhm.
Somebody talking at me, I don't get it at all.
Hmm.
I've got to take notes.
Hmm.
If I can read it, it's going to work better for me. So, some people learn better hands-on.
Mhm. Yeah, I think we try
Yeah.
to, ask them what their, learning preference is. Um, but it's, I don't,
I bet
I
you
don't
get
know.
crickets on that question.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of them, "Oh, I like to, hands-on." Okay, but you don't know really where you're clicking. So then what I'd say is, again, I'd model it. I'd say, okay, this is what you got to click, and then I tell them to click. But then, um, I guess I just need to make them click sooner than later. You know, don't wait 20 minutes after to have them do the clicks.
Yes,
Mhm.
because unless it's reinforced immediately, they forget it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and think how much we jam down in an hour. Here, listen to me for an hour, go regurgitate it. Like, we probably have to break it down a lot more, Linda, you know?
Yeah, that's the problem. It's, we have so much content that that's expected for them to take in this a period of time, and that's always been the pressure about the training. It's just so much to learn.
Well,
Mhm.
the problem with lots of content and lecturing is that you can throw lots of that information at people, but it's going to just slide down their bodies.
Yeah.
People can absorb maybe 4 or 5 new things if they're familiar, or 2 to 3 new things if they're not familiar.
Hmm.
Now, I'm not saying in an hour, but in 10 minutes, you need to chunk it out and also prioritize. What is it that they've got to hear about right now? What is it that they have to know where to find it?
Okay.
Because
So what do they need to know right now and where to find it?
right,
Mhm.
because I bet
Probably what we have to lead with, Linda, is I think we start to show them the system, but maybe the first day it's you show me how you find the resources, because we have a ton of resources, you know, and make them go find it, you know,
Mhm.
so that they're really, really familiar with that.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, good. Yeah, no, this is helpful just to bounce some of this off and
well, I'm glad.
Yeah.
In our last minutes, any other question?
Mm,
not right now.
No. So how does the rest of the program work? You said there was a couple of weeks of this, or
I'm going to be doing it every week,
every week? Okay. For how long?
all year.
Oh, okay. Is it the same content or is it just different things? Oh, so there you go. How to overcome participant resistance.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
it'll be very different content. I'm beginning with challenges because I thought that might appeal to folks. But for example, February 8th, when not to lecture.
Hmm.
March 8th, motivational learning techniques. March 22nd, how to handle hybrid training situations, how to design a virtual training program. All of this is, gee, you should have, did you get a mailing?
I got the email about this class,
But you
but
didn't,
I don't, is there, yeah, I don't know if there's anything online I can see all of the sessions or what the schedule's
yes,
like. Okay.
yes. If you go to, let me put in the chat. If you go to my website, oops.
Okay, Laurel and Associates.
Toward the bottom, it'll talk about first aid for new trainers, and it tells you the content for every week.
Okay. Okay. And
Now-
the cost for the first, for each session is 25.
Right.
Okay.
25 per participant, I assume.
I'm sorry?
Is it 25 per participant
Connection.
or
Yes.
company? Like, okay.
Okay. And you can register as they come, or is it something you do the whole program? Like if there's one topic that I want to be in versus another?
You just register for whatever topic you want.
Oh, okay. Okay, wonderful. Okay. All right. And you see
So
here
then-
6-step lesson design checklist. Okay.
So then is it anybody who, like, you know, is this for insurance or is any company? So like next week, let's just say you have a lot more interest. Could there be 20 people on here from all different types of businesses? I mean, this was kind of nice because it was catered.
Yeah.
We're once here, but next time if it's like 20 people, just curious.
Mhm.
I would love to have 20 people, and
Mhm.
it would be likely that they come from different organizations. I do train the trainer. If that would be useful for your company, you know, we could do that. That would be an option, either virtually or face to face.
Okay.
Where
So that
are you
would be
located in Minnesota?
No, I'm in Wisconsin, Madison,
Okay.
but
Okay.
that's not
Okay.
too far away.
No. Mm-mm.
So you could do a train the trainer because, you know, we have these CSTs, so you could just present like this and we could go in a room and set up a training with you for all of us.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you'd be interested in, what the cost for that would be, and how long, if you want to send some information to my email. I
Okay.
can talk to our manager about that, because I think that would definitely be, because everything we heard today, would be something that we of course would share with them, but it'd be great for them to hear it and then give their feedback as to their challenges too.
Yes. Was that Linda?
Yes.
What is your email?
ljackson@christiansengroup.com, and it's CHRISTENSEN group.com. Yeah, so just like Katie's, but L Jackson.
Yeah, and if you send it, you could reply all to the meeting link you sent and CC Linda. I wouldn't mind seeing it too, because I think like we've never trained, like we've never gotten feedback on or training on our training, if that makes sense. You know, we get feedback from trainees sometimes,
Sorry.
but we don't. Yeah, but we don't really get like I've never sat with the trainer and to see how they train, like some of the stuff you said, I definitely do. I do stop, ask questions, whatever, but not formally. And none of us have ever been trained how to be good trainers, so I just think that could benefit all of us.
Well, good. I love doing train the trainer.
Okay.
my favorite thing. Now,
Yeah, good.
If you are willing to leave a review, I've put the link in chat. Because I do want to drum up business, and it would be helpful if
Okay.
you said this was useful.
It was definitely useful for me. I don't see the review in the chat. Sorry for the dogs.
Oh, all the way up to the top.
Oh, well, I don't know. I thought I was in there. In the
I
chat.
only have the laurelassociates.com in the
Yeah.
chat.
Oh, let me put it in again.
I did join late though, so maybe it was on there before I got here.
Okay. Nope. There it is.
Yep, no, I got it.
Okay. Great.
Well, thank you for your time, and yeah, I am interested in seeing the other topics, and
Mm-hmm.
in some ways, it might be nice if it's just Linda and I or something.
I know.
then we
Before
can talk through
Deborah needs
specific
to get some
things.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, this is awesome. No, thank you so much. I am leaving feeling more optimistic about training, because I really feel like, and I almost feel sad that I didn't ask a lot of these questions to even start, to start training, so I feel bad. So
Well, you can immediately implement it into your
yeah,
Exeon thing you're doing.
right.
And I just did, I just sent the Amy a cert today, and she put it in. So I can use some of this and ask these questions when I meet with her. I can implement it right away. And
Yeah.
I think when we need a CST, this is good feedback to give, because something's not working if we just keep talking for an hour and it's not getting through. I think that's a huge takeaway, is we need to break it down, have them implement immediately.
Yeah.
I think the challenge is we only have so much time, so we're just like going through it and like, here you go, off on your own. And it's a full-time job to train people, so it's hard when you have your own work you're doing on top of it. So
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
But it's better to spend the time and know it's fruitful versus, throwing a bunch of stuff at it and hope some of it sticks, so
yeah.
right. I mean, so we have to figure out, okay, if we want to make sure they get the best out of it, it's time well spent. So
two things. One thing I didn't mention is that people can absorb stuff for about 50 minutes, and then they
Okay.
need a 10-minute break. So if you're doing 2 hours, make sure that you build in a break for them.
Yeah.
And
And
I will be sending you, once I edit this, I'll be sending you a link to the recording of this.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh, good.
Thank you.
So you'd be able to share it with whoever you wanted to.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Deb.
You're welcome. Well,
awesome.
thank you both for coming. I am
Yeah.
so thrilled that you did, because I was
Yes.
so prepared to talk to myself.
Oh, well, thank you for your time, and I look forward to hopefully doing at least one more session just to get a feel for this. And
Oh, for sure.
I really like your topics, and like Linda said too, you just need a little direction sometimes, and you can take it and implement it, and it can make a big difference. So
Right.
I don't know, it's worth a look into it. So this is great.
Yes.
Okay, well, take care. Have a good rest of the week.
Thanks.
All right,
You too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.